Good morning. So let's get started our approach of Indian national movement. So we started with the three important dimensions of the policy of divide and rule. That was a partition of Bengal. We have discussed elaborately. Then establishment of Muslim League, and third was that division of Indian National Congress. I hope you have noted the chronology, and accordingly you make up your mind that which event will come first and which event come later, and accordingly you take the description also in examination. Partition of Bengal is always a very heated topic in our examination because its a long-term impact was very good in terms of national movement. So we have realized that the importance of the national movement come across when the extremist politics or the mass sentiments become very intense in the partition of Bengal atmosphere. Swadeshi movement which gained momentum during this period. So Swadeshi movement itself was a very powerful movement, and it was a comprehensive movement which attracted all sections of Indian society. And at the same time, you'll find that the method that was adopted during the Swadeshi movement, it became the main technique and the method of the Indian national movement led by Gandhi. So that is how the Swadeshi movement created the pathways for the long intensified movement of Indian National Congress. So we have seen the Surat split yesterday. In the last we were talking about the Surat split. So Surat split was not a real split. Was not a real split. But it was only ideological differences between moderate and extremist. Ideological differences between moderate and extremist. So Surat split was not a real split, but it was only ideological difference between moderate and extremist. In 1916, Lucknow session, both moderate and extremists reunited. We will discuss this detail, why they united. Moderate and extremist reunited. Both moderate and extremists reunited in the Lucknow session. So therefore it should not be called as a real split, but it was simply ideological difference between moderate and extremist. Actually, extremists did not form their separate organization. They merely remained indifferent from the activities of Congress. They merely remained indifferent from the activities of Congress. Extremists did not form their separate organization. They merely remained indifferent from the activities of Congress. So 1916 Lucknow session. Now follow the story model. That is the best model to understand history. When Tilak released from jail after 6 years imprisonment, he was in Burma, Mandalay jail. So after 6 years of imprisonment, Tilak released from jail. And the release of Tilak was great relief to the many nationalists in India, because he was the powerhouse of the extremist movement. And the British divide and rule policy had become successful, and that resulted in the imprisonment of Tilak. So therefore, the when 1914 Tilak released from jail, so by the time of the Congress, by the time the Indian National Congress was not so much active, and Congress simply remained an organization without any big impact in Indian nationalism. So advent of Tilak was new hope for the nationalist. And in 1914 also, the lady from Ireland, her name was Annie Besant. She was already very active in the she was already very active in Theosophical Society, and she had long working experiences in India as a member of the Theosophical Society. So she was not new to India and not new to the Indian politics also. So she entered in Congress, and she actually wanted that there should be a proper intensity of Indian national movement, because she was from Ireland, and the Ireland also had a very strong movement against England. So Ireland also, there was a Home Rule League movement. So she wanted to play the same role here in India, and that is called Indian Home Rule League movement based on the Irish Home Rule League movement. You can understand the relation between England and Ireland, which constituted the Great Britain. So therefore, same type of movement she wanted to play in India as well. And for that, she wanted to have a unification of the moderate and extremist. Okay. So therefore, her role in the coming days will be very important after 1914. So look at what I am talking here. Let us understand the chronology first. And chronology is very important. 1914. Annie Besant joined Congress. And Tilak released from jail. Tilak released from jail, 1914. Annie Besant joined Congress, and Tilak released from jail. (1915) Death of moderate leader Gokhale and Mehta. Death of moderate leader Gokhale and Mehta. 1916 Home Rule League, April and September. Home Rule League is started by Tilak and Annie Besant. Home Rule League movement is started by Tilak and Annie Besant. Tilak and Annie Besant. April 1916, Tilak had started the Home Rule League movement, and September, Annie Besant had started. Okay, 1916, Lucknow session of Indian National Congress. This is the thing that I was talking about, that both moderate and extremists reunited. So Lucknow session of Indian National Congress. 1917 Montfort Reform. Montfort Reform. We will talk what was the Montfort Reform. Yes. Note down all the chronology, then we'll go by one to discuss about the thing. Lucknow session always in the month of December. Annual session of the Congress always in the month of December. So 1917 Montfort Reform. (1918) Surendranath Banerjee, he left Congress and Indian Liberal Federation Indian Liberal Federation was established by S.N. Banerjee. S.N. Banerjee. And then 1919 Government of India Act. Government of India Act. (1919) Government of India Act. Indian Liberal Federation by S.N. Banerjee. So we will start here. Now look at the sequence. These two things are very much interconnected. We will talk about. And here. We will start from here and we'll connect at Lucknow session. How moderate and extremist got united. So first we go for the Lucknow session. Lucknow session. Lucknow session was historic session Lucknow session was historic session presided by Ambika Charan Majumdar. Ambika Charan Majumdar. Ambika Charan Majumdar. It was a historic session presided by Ambika Charan Majumdar. The Lucknow session was known as Congress of Two Reunion. Congress of Two Reunion. Congress of Two Reunion. It was moderate extremist, and second, Congress and Muslim League. Congress and Muslim League. Moderate and extremist, and the Congress and Muslim League. Congress and Muslim League. It's called Congress of Two Reunion. So moderate and extremist. Moderate and extremist reunited mainly because of three factors. Mainly because of three factors. Effort of Annie Besant, Annie Besant genuinely wanted a revival of Indian national movement. Effort of Annie Besant genuinely wanted a revival of Indian national movement. A revival of Indian national movement. Second, death of Firoz Shah Mehta and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Death of Firoz Shah Mehta and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. They were the main opposition of the Tilak. Gopal Krishna Gokhale, both died in 1915. And third, moderation in voice of Tilak. Moderation in voice of Tilak. Moderation in voice of Tilak. Tilak said, under quote you can write, Tilak said, Swaraj, I mean within the British Empire and not independent of it. Swaraj, I mean within the British Empire and not independent of it. Within the British Empire. Swaraj, I mean within the British Empire and not independent of it. Obviously, that means a lot because the Tilak was always had a very strong voice that what is Swaraj, and Swaraj is my birthright, I shall have it. So both moderate and British was not comfortable with his fiery slogan. But here at this point, Tilak made it very clear that Swaraj, I mean within the British Empire and not independent of it. So moderate was also ready to receive. So effort of Annie Besant, death of Firoz Shah Mehta and Gokhale, and moderation in the voice of Tilak. Moderation in the voice of Tilak. Moderation in the voice of Tilak. So moderate an extremist. Swaraj, I mean within the British Empire and not independent of it. So these three factors that lead to the reunification of moderate and extremist. So that's the effort of Annie Besant actually played a very important role. Second, Congress and Muslim League. Congress and Muslim League. Muslim League. Congress and Muslim League. Both decided to have a joint session both decided to have a joint session. Both decided to have joint session. Both Congress and Muslim League decided to have a joint session on board, and there was a formula that 1/3 seats of elected member in assembly should be reserved for the Muslims. Reserved for Muslims. 1/3 seats of the elected member in assembly should be reserved for the Muslims. One-third seats in the assembly should be reserved for the Muslims. Should be reserved for the Muslims. One-third seats should be reserved for the Muslims. Should be reserved for the Muslims. And minority veto minority veto. Minority veto. Tilak and Muhammad Ali Jinnah played a very important role in the unification of this Lucknow Pact. Congress and Muslim League is called Lucknow Pact. Tilak and Jinnah played a very important role. It's called Lucknow Pact. So there should be minority veto. So both Congress and Muslim League got united. So this is how we see the Lucknow Pact, or this is called Lucknow session, which is a historic session. So after release of Tilak, joining of Henry Besant, then death of Gokhale, and then finally we have the Lucknow session. Gokhale and Mehta were the strong opponents of this extremist. Minority veto is that suppose there are 10 members of any community in the assembly and the bill regarding that community is to be passed, anything, but if 2/3 member of that community will oppose, then that bill will never pass in the assembly, even there is 100% support in the assembly. So that minority veto is there, means there is any bill concerning any minority, if 2/3 member of that community oppose the bill, that bill could not be passed in the assembly. So it's called minority veto. That applies for the any minority, whether it is a caste Hindus minority, or whether it is a Muslims, the Christians, the Sikh, all. So minority veto. So death of Gokhale. Now I'm coming to the big topic, that is called Home Rule League movement, and then we'll go for the Montfort reform and then Government of India Act 1919. How it is deeply connected, I will let you know. So you can give the big heading, that is called Home Rule League movement. Home Rule League movement, 1916. Home Rule League movement was based on Irish Home Rule. It was based on Irish Home Rule. That is, within the broader perspective of British Empire, India to be managed by Indians. India to be managed by Indians. Within the broader perspective of British Empire, India to be managed by Indians. So Home Ruling movement was started by Annie Besant and Tilak. Annie Besant and Tilak. Annie Besant and Tilak. Tilak started Home Ruling movement in April 1916 in Maharashtra. And Karnataka. April 1916. Maharashtra and Karnataka. And any percent she started in rest of India. Rest part of India, including Bombay plus Bombay. Plus Bombay. Rest part of India plus Bombay. She started in September 1916. So they demarcated areas and different zones, time, so that the impact should be divided and there should not be any clash also. So they were working in a different areas. Tilak started early. Any Besant had taken the time to start. So Irish Home Rule League. Within the broader framework of the British Empire, India to be managed by Indians. This is the formula of Irish Home Rule League. Within the broader framework of British Empire, India to be managed by Indians. The demand of the Home Rule included Swaraj, formation of linguistic states, and education in vernacular language. Education in vernacular language. They demanded freedom of press. Continue में demanded freedom of press, freedom of press, local self-government, to be given constitutional power, declaration of political rights, process of election, both Annie Besant and Tilak both Annie Besant and Tilak started mass contact program to generate awareness of the people for the Home Rule, to generate awareness of the people for the Home Rule. Mass contact program to generate awareness of the people for the Home Rule. They wanted to create momentum of Indian national movement. They wanted to create momentum of Indian national movement. In support of Home Rule League movement. Home Rule League movement of Tilak was very effective. Very effective. Home ruling movement of Tilak was very effective. He got the title of Lokmanya from the people of Maharashtra. Lokmanya from the people of Maharashtra. Got the title of Lokmanya from the people of Maharashtra. That was example of his popularity. That was example of his popularity. Example of his popularity. Annie Besant set up the National Home Rule League in September 1916 in Madras. And cover the rest of India, including Bombay. It had 200 branches. Was loosely organized as compared to Tilak's League. George Arundel as the organizing secretary. Organizing secretary. Besides Arundel, the main work was done by B.P. Wadia and C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer. B.P. Wadia and C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer. B.P. Wadia and C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer. The program of Home Rule League is to convey the message of self-government. Was to convey the message of self-government. It carried a much wider appeal than the earlier mobilizations and also attracted the politically backward regions of Gujarat and Sindh. politically backward regions of Gujarat and Sindh. The objective of home ruling movement was achieved by like promotion of political education, holding conference, these are the methods to be used. Promoting political education, discussion through public meetings, organizing libraries and reading rooms containing books on national politics, holding conferences, organizing classes for students on politics, propaganda through newspapers, pamphlets, posters. These are the main works taken by so note down all the activities to be achieved. So home ruling movement was going on. In 1917, the Secretary of State Montagu declared in Parliament Montagu declared in Parliament that the objective of British government was to establish responsible government in India. The objective of British government was to establish responsible government in India. This is called Montagu Declaration. Montagu Declaration. After this declaration, Annie Besant decided to take back the home ruling movement. Annie Besant decided to take back home ruling movement. Annie Besant decided to take back home ruling movement. Montagu Declaration. Decided to take back home ruling movement. Tilak also went to England to file the legal case against a British author, Valentine Cyril, for his book Father of India's Unrest. Valentine Cyril for his book Father of India's Unrest. So Tilak also went to England to file a legal case against Valentine Cyril for his book Father of India's Unrest. Therefore, home ruling movement had subsided. So Montagu reform, so that's Montagu Declaration. Montagu had conversation with Viceroy Chelmsford. Montagu had conversation with Viceroy Chelmsford. Therefore, Montagu Chelmsford or Montfort reform was presented. Montfort reform was presented. On the basis of this reform, Montfort, Montagu, Chelmsford. So on the basis of this reform, Government of India Act 1919 was passed. 1919 was passed. Government of India Act 1919 was passed. On the basis of this reform, Government of India Act 1919 was passed. So, Montagu Reform 1917, Montagu-Chelmsford Act, which became the basis of the Government of India Act 1919. So, Montagu-Chelmsford Act. Under this Act, diarchy was introduced in provinces. Diarchy was introduced in provinces. Diarchy was introduced in provinces. Under the diarchy, what is diarchy? Double. Provincial subject got divided into parts. Provincial subject means power in which province make the law. Provincial subject got divided in two parts. Reserved subject and transferred subject. Transferred subject. Reserved subject was in the hands of governor and the council of governor. Governor and council of governor. Governor and council of governor. Transferred subject was in the hands of Indian ministers. Was in the hands of Indian ministers. Transferred subject was in the hands of Indian ministers. Shodarki in the provinces and the council. Reserved and the transferred subject. Reserved subjects like land revenue, reserved subjects are means reserved subjects like land revenue, law and order, police and jail, trade, taxation, irrigation, transferred subject like health, education, agriculture, local self-government, so land revenue, law and order, police, jail, trade, taxation, irrigation, health, education, agriculture, local self-government. So list profile ministry was transferred to Indian ministers, and this is for the governor and the council. Governor can veto this subject. Governor can veto this subject. If Indian minister take any decision, then governor can put a veto on this. So governor can veto these subjects. Second point. Salary of the Secretary of State for India. Salary of Secretary of State for India now onward will be given from British revenue. Will be given from British revenue. Third point. Size of the Legislative Assembly British Legislative Assembly to be increased, and 70% members will be Indian. Third point, size of the Legislative Assembly to be increased and 70% Indians to be 70% members to be Indian. Fourth, in center, there will be bicameral legislature. Bicameral legislature. House of the People. And Council of States. House of the People and Council of States. House of the People and Council of States. Bicameral. House of the People and Council of States. Fifth, in Viceroy's Executive Council, there will be 8 members, in which 3 will be Indians. 3 Indians. Viceroy Executive Council, there will be 8 members, in which 3 will be Indians. 3 Indians out of 8. So Viceroy Executive Council to be expanded. Three Indians. Viceroy Executive Council. So these are the provisions of the Government of India Act 1919. So there is one student asking that what is the reason for the filing the case of this Valentine Sirol. Valentine Sirol wrote a book, Father of Indian Unrest. The title hero of that book was Tilak. According to Valentine Sirol, whatever problem in India because of this man Tilak. So calling him the father of Indian unrest. Tilak. So this is father of Indian unrest. Tilak actually had created. So Valentine Sirol. Father of Indian unrest. done. So these are the important things. And one more thing, that Indian Liberal Federation. So Indian Liberal Federation Indian Liberal Federation it was established by S.N. Banerjee, Surendranath Banerjee, and Bipin Chandra Pal. S.N. Banerjee and Bipin Chandra Pal. Both Bipin Chandra Pal and S.N. Banerjee left Indian National Congress to form this organization. Mainly because they were not happy with the activities of Annie Besant in Congress. Activities of Annie Besant in the Congress. After withdrawal of Home Rule League movement, S.N. Banerjee left Indian National Congress. So Indian Liberal Federation. So now we will bring Mr. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi in picture. Gandhi, he came to India here 1915. He came to India after 20 years of the long working experience in South Africa. 1915. We will see the separate movement of the Gandhi. So when these home ruling movement, Lucknow session, Montfort reform, all going on, Gandhi was also having his own activities. (1915) Gandhi. So advent of Gandhi in Indian politics. We can give the heading, Advent of Gandhi So I told you in the very first day that when Gandhi, after getting married and leading the family life, he decided to go to South Africa, decided to go to London for higher studies. And Gandhi was very much dedicated to the law, study of law, and study of philosophy both. In fact, he was more interested in study of philosophy. So Gandhi studied many philosophers, and while as a student of law, he was having keen interest in philosophy. He was a student of law in London, but having keen interest in study of philosophy. Keen interest in study of philosophy. The most influential philosopher was Thoreau. Thoreau. Thoreau was American political scientist. American political scientist who gave the theory of civil disobedience movement. Gave the theory of civil disobedience movement. Gave the theory of civil disobedience movement. Thoreau, American political scientist. Thoreau during the American Civil War developed the concept of civil obedience movement. Developed the concept of civil disobedience movement. After learning laws, Gandhi was doing practice in Kathiawar court. Kathiawar court. He is doing practice in Kathiawar court. A Gujarati merchant of South Africa, Dadabhai Abdullah, asked Gandhi to come to South Africa to see his legal cases, to see his legal cases. Dada Bhai Abdullah. Gandhi went to South Africa on 1-year legal contract. But in South Africa, he was badly involved in problems of Indians who were discriminated because of the laws passed by white South African government. Laws passed by white South African government. There were three categories of Indians living in South Africa. Living in South Africa. There were three categories of Indians living in South Africa. Indentured labor. Indentured labor. The labor who went to South Africa on contract. Went to South Africa on contract. Indentured labor who went to South Africa on contract. To work in mines or plantation. To work in mines and plantation. Second, ex-indentured labor. Means those who stayed in South Africa even after expiry of the contract. You know, Indians, once you call them to sit here, they will take a bed. They will sleep there. So ex-indentured labor. Those who were staying in South Africa even after expiry of contract. Memon Muslims of Gujarat. Third, Memon Muslims of Gujarat who came as a trader. Memon Muslims of Gujarat who came as a trader. So there were three types of Indians, three categories of Indians. There were many laws passed by South African government which discriminated Indians in South Africa. Indians in South Africa. There were many laws like Registration Certificate 1906. Registration Certificate like 1906. Indians had to register before the local authority. Indians had to register before the local authority. Indians must carry the registration card. Second, restrictions on Indian migration. Indians could not migrate from one state to another in South Africa. one state to another in South Africa. Poll tax. Those Indians living illegally had to pay £3 annual poll tax. £3 annual poll tax. Invalidation of Indian marriages. Any marriage which was not solemnized any marriage which was not solemnized under the Christian ways, that marriage was declared illegal. Any marriage which was not solemnized under the Christian ways, that marriage was declared illegal. That marriage was declared illegal. So in South Africa, the first phase of Gandhian movement, Gandhi, first phase of movement of Gandhi, (1896 to 1906). It was a moderate phase. That is presenting petition to the South African government, or highlighting the issue before the British government. Before British government. Gandhi established Natal Indian Congress to unite Indians. Natal Indian Congress to unite Indians. Gandhi established Natal Indian Congress to unite Indians. Indians. Natal Indian Congress to unite Indians. He started publication of a newspaper, Indian Opinion. He started publication of newspaper, Indian Opinion. Indian Opinion. They started publication of newspaper, Indian Opinion. Second phase. Gandhi already proved his leadership quality. Already proved his leadership quality in South Africa. Leadership quality in South Africa. Leadership quality in South Africa. As an organizer, a propagandist, as a journalist, fundraiser, an organizer, propagandist, journalist, fundraiser. So leadership quality. So second phase, he adopted the policy called passive resistance. Passive resistance. That is Satyagraha. Satyagraha. Passive resistance and Satyagraha. He established Tolstoy firm in Natal province of South Africa. Natal province of South Africa. He established Tolstoy firm in Natal province of South Africa. Sir Ratan Tata donated 25,000 rupees. Donated 25,000 rupees to Gandhi. Even the members of Congress, Muslim League, Nizam of Hyderabad also contributed in Tolstoy firm. Also contributed in Tolstoy firm. It was established to support the families. It was established to support the families living without job in South Africa. Living without job in South Africa. So Tolstoy firm was established. So Satyagraha. Principles of Satyagraha. Identify truth. Relative truth or absolute truth? Relative truth or absolute truth? Insist on truth. Fight using non-violence. Change the mind and heart of opponents through self-suffering and make God a witness of your deeds. Be fearless. So be fearless. This is the technique of Satyagraha. Based on truth and non-violence, basic tenets. So this is the basic tenets of Satyagraha. So we'll continue with the Gandhian movement after this, the Satyagraha and other objectivity, with some questions of the previous year also. So I'll meet you after the break, 2 p.m.